John Barnett. Now, interesting story, Mark. I don't know if you're familiar with him. So, interesting story with him because he was found dead in his car mid deposition. So, he had been doing a deposition in South Carolina. I don't know if it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something, or maybe it was even deposition prep. But whatever it was over a weekend. He didn't show up. They went to look for him and they found him outside his in a car outside his Holiday Inn in Charleston, dead in the car, gunshot wound to the head, and gun in his hand. He was a quality control manager who retired in 2017, and he worked at Boeing for 30 years. He was very critical of this transition, and it sounds like the transition he was talking about was the joining with McDonnell Douglas. He said that we had these military folks came in, and it was all about the culture was completely different. It was all about cutting costs, cutting costs, cutting costs. He was not happy with quality control, and again, that was his responsibility. I think he said something to the effect that there wasn't a single plane that left the facility where he worked on the East Coast in the Carolinas that he would sign his name to as being safe. That's pretty strong
Yep.
language. You know, the interesting thing about him is a friend of the family. So this is comes down to the I'm trying to think of the proper way to term this, Mark. So we don't. So yeah, we can ensure the widest distribution of this video as possible. Let me put it that way. There was a friend of the family that said that she had spoken with him, and he said, "I'm not scared, but if anything happens to me, it's not my own doing." And that weren't his exact words. He used a different word to describe his end. But and she said, "I know that his death was not self-induced. There's no way. He loved life too much. He loved his family too much. He loved his brothers too much to put them through what they're going through right now. I think somebody didn't like what he had to say and wanted to shut him up and didn't want it to come back on anyone. So that's why they made it look the way it did." I don't know, Mark. We haven't seen any of the specific reports or anything. There was the report, this newspaper report that I read said he had a gun in his hand, finger still on the trigger, and there was a note in the car. Of course, it didn't give details of what was in the note or anything else, but he exposed the role of Boeing's military connections, and I guess that comes from the McDonnell Douglas merger, probably, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
entire This is what he said, "The entire team came down from the military. Their motto was, 'We're in Charleston and we can do anything we want.' They started pressuring us not to document defects, to work outside procedures, to allow defective material to be installed without being corrected." And one of the things that he took issue with was how they would make panels fit together. Like if there were gaps in panels, he just says they would use like excessive force and kind of force things to fit, and that down the road that would affect the airworthiness of the plane, etc. You have any thoughts, Mark, on his death or anything like that? I mean, he worked there 30 years and he'd been
Mhm.
a whistleblower since 2017, and all of a sudden all these things come to light, which kind of lend some support to some of the claims he was making, and then he's found dead in his car in the middle of a deposition.
Well, look, it's certainly intriguing. It's certainly intriguing. Um, the timing, the coincidence. One of the things I forget who the woman was you were quoting about him, and I'd heard when I said I knew a little bit about him. That was one of the things I'd heard where she said that he was saying things that people didn't want to hear. Well, there's no dispute about that.
Mhm.
Certainly, Boeing and other people wouldn't want these types of allegations made public. There's no doubt about it. Did somebody off this guy and try to make it look like a suicide? I don't know, and nobody besides that gentleman and the possible suspect or suspects behind his death would know that, if there are any. At least that's this point. Just don't know, but it is intriguing, and this is the problem when a company, an entity, a government start engaging in behavior that they shouldn't behave in, or they start losing quality control, things like this, without 100% transparency and really, all the effort in the world to right the ship. When things like this happen, when the suicide, at least reported suicide of a whistleblower occurs in conjunction with what's coming out, how else will it look? What else would it look like
Mhm.
than this was an attempt to silence a person? I don't know if that happened or not. I don't know if this was just somebody under a tremendous amount of stress, took his own
Mhm.
life at a publicly, let's put it this way, inopportune time that could result in looking like a conspiracy. I just don't know. But these are the types of conspiracies that can be created, or at least the appearance of a conspiracy,
Yeah.
when it happens in conjunction with other people's malfeasance. And so I think it's where we are right now, and it, we'll probably never know exactly what happened to this person, but here we
Yeah.
are.